Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Ella, and this week we're going to be doing a reading vlog TBR takedown. I have read one of the books off of my September TBR, which I picked at the beginning of the month. I read 2 books this month, only one of them from the TBR. So I've got several books that I need to read. I've got about a week until October. So this week I'm just trying to read as much as I can. I'm hoping to read at least 3 of them. And then as I read them, I will go ahead and do my thoughts. So this will be a reading vlog slash reading wrap up for the month of September. The one book that I have read was Babel, and that was the longest book on the TBR, so I'm hoping that the others will be faster. But since I already read Babel, let's go ahead and talk about what I thought about it, and then we can start reading the other books. So I did read Babel. In my reading wrap-ups, I'm going to try and avoid spoilers because I hate spoilers, so I'm not trying to spoil anything crucial to the story for any of the books that I'm going to be reading. But I will tell you that my rating for Babel is currently a 3.75 out of 5 stars. Now, that teeters to a 4-star at any point. It's between 3.75 and 4 stars whenever I think about it. I really liked a lot of this book, but there were some things that I just had a big issue with. It is the longest book that I read this month. Like I said, it's 550 pages. It really drags in the middle of the book. I honestly, for like an hour, considered DNFing it because I just got to a point in the book that was like so boring and it felt like we were going nowhere with the story. But in the final like 250 pages, it like really picks up and gets really interesting. And like all of the quotable moments I feel like are mostly in the final 250 pages. Things are happening. I'm really interested and invested in the story. There's a twist that is kind of predictable that I did not love. Most of the book is pretty predictable. I will say, since I haven't mentioned it, I think I talked about it a little when I picked the book initially. If you don't know what Babel is, it is a fantasy, like a historical fantasy. Babel is the Institute of Translation at the School of Oxford. Babel, that does not exist in our history. Oxford exists in our history, and the idea of Babel exists in the Bible. But we are in the 1800s in Oxford, and the Institute of Translation is Babel at Oxford in Great Britain or England. The main character, Robin, is half Chinese, half English, white. He is taken from his home at a young age, and he goes to be raised in England and then is put on the path to go to Babel as a teenager to become a translator. He is doing this because he speaks Mandarin and English, and he learns Latin and Greek. There's a lot of talk of etymology in this book because it's very focused on translation and language and different languages and the meanings of words and where they came from. That part was mostly interesting. I will say, like, the part of the book that I was getting really bored at was like a very lecture heavy part. Like, literally they were going through a lot of lectures in the book and the professors were literally lecturing a lot, and it was very textbook like in a boring way. But like I said, it picks up after that. And another big gripe I had about this book is that there are footnotes throughout the book. Let me show you. You can see right there. That's one of the footnotes. They are all over this book, and they are indicated by this tiny fucking asterisk, which is impossible to see on this tiny font. So like 100 times I would see that there was a footnote and an asterisk that I was trying to find, and I literally couldn't find it because it would be like right next to an apostrophe or something, and it would be smaller than the apostrophe. And so I was getting so irritated with the footnotes, which were already not giving me super useful information. So that really was dinging my rating, was the footnotes that I couldn't stand. One more final thing. This book is about colonialism and racism, especially of that time, and of the British Empire, obviously a colonialist empire. And I am down with the message. I totally agree with what R.F. Kuang is trying to say, like, duh, colonialism bad, racism bad, but she definitely browbeats you and like really tries to hit that point home over and over and over in the story in like very simple ways, like caricatures of racism. And like within the first 10 pages, Robin is like, colonialism is bad and the British Empire is a colonialist empire, but I'm going to spend 500 more pages not really doing much about that, or like changing the way I approach the world, even though I have this knowledge in my head. It's a bit much. It felt like we were being talked down to as the reader, and a lot of people are like, you have to be so smart to read R.F. Kuang, and she's like really giving you a history lesson. It's like, well, if you've ever heard of the terms colonialism or racism, you understand the point that she's trying to make. It's not that difficult to understand. I didn't need it to be beaten into my skull 100 times without making the story super interesting until the end. Like I said, the end, fantastic. And a lot of what this book like talks about or tries to talk about in its themes is how do you handle colonialism, which is a good, like, that is done beautifully. Like, what is the individual reaction? Because different characters have different reactions, which is great. Like, Robin thinks about it one way, and then his friends think about it another way, and these people that he's interacting with are thinking about it a certain way. And she talks about how you respond to your oppressor, with violence or non-violence. Me personally, pro-violence to your oppressors, always, 100% of the time. And there's a lot of great quotes about that in this book, about how it is righteous to be violent against your oppressors. I agree with that character who was saying that. And you don't see that a whole lot in a lot of fantasy books spelled out the way it was. So I like that. That was amazing. The end was great. Loved the setting. Loved most of the characters. I did also want to quickly shout out the magic system in Babel because I really liked it and it was very unique to me. So I did mention that Babel is the school of translation at Oxford. Robin is going there because he's going to be a translator, but I did not tell you that the reason this is so like crucial to their country, to Britain, like as a colonialist place, is because the magic system is based on these silver bars that create effects based on translation. So they would have a silver bar and you would write one word in one language and then another word in a different language on the other side. And so like you'd have English on one side and then French on the other. It would be the same word but in two different languages. And then the magic that happens from the bar is what is like lost in translation, because they're never like they're never the exact word. Like the word for English would never mean the exact same thing as the same word in French or whatever, you know, like all of the languages. There's always something that's missing in translation, and then that is the thing that creates the magical effect through the silver bars. And that's why they need all these translators. It's very interesting and very cool and unique to see the way that this works in the story. And it really like highlights the importance of the etymology. Like that's why we go so much into it in the book, because that's the magic system. So just wanted to shout that out. Now that I'm done rambling, sorry, I have so many thoughts about Babel, and that's because I did like it. I would not care so much if I just absolutely hated the book, but I really liked it, so lots of thoughts on things that could have been better and things that were great. Anyway, the next book that I am going to get to in the September TBR that we picked is A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. So I'm going to go ahead and just start reading this. We're going to cut to some B-roll, and I will check back in with you maybe at like the halfway point, see how I'm feeling about it. Hello, I just wanted to give an update. It's been a few days since I last checked in, And I'm sorry if you can hear the fan in this room. I hope it's not too loud. But we are still working on A Dowry of Blood. I'm pretty close to the end. I'm like on page 200 out of like 295. I think I could finish this today, but it is already pretty late in the day. So I don't know if I'll finish it, but I'll definitely read a little bit more and then hopefully come back tomorrow and tell you my final thoughts. It's not October yet, but we're getting close. We've got like 2 days left in this month of September. So I'm trying to hurry up and finish this and at least start the next book and have that started before October begins. But I did just want to give you that update that we are making good progress and I am enjoying it. It's fine, but we're not finished yet. Also, I did get to go see the new and final Conjuring movie today, and that was super fun. So I haven't been reading a bunch this weekend because I did that, and then yesterday I worked and played D&D. So my plans of having a reading vlog they got a little off track, but we're gonna get it back on track, I promise. But yeah, new Conjuring was pretty good, and it's spooky season for spooky movies, so shout out to those who enjoy such things. But I will see you in the next clip. Hello, I wanted to check in. I did finish A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson, so let's do my thoughts. So I'm thinking it's gonna be a 4-star, which is a pretty good rating. The book, I think I might have mentioned this. If I didn't, I'm mentioning it again. It is told in epistolary format. I think that's how you say it, where it's like different letters. The whole book is like told through letters that the main character is writing. So it was a pretty quick read, which I was grateful for. And I like that style of writing. And it's vampires. It's not Dracula, but it is vampires. The main character tells us what is gonna happen at the end, at the beginning of the book, and then throughout the book we're going through and seeing how we get to the end. The main character is a girl who is turned into a vampire way back in time. I don't know if she gives a specific date, but super far back in time. And the story is sort of about her abusive relationship with the vampire that sired her, and then he goes on to sire more people. And it's about like throughout their time together, throughout the centuries together, like the different emotional and relational abuses that she endures and that the other people that he sires endures. And it's about their relationships is like the primary plot. And I will say, like, I feel like this is very unique. I've never read a book like this. Like, it's a vampire domestic abuse situation. So it spans for centuries and is very dangerous. Like, regular domestic abuse is pretty dangerous, but it's not gonna last hundreds of years. So that's cool because I've never read anything like it, and I have never experienced relational domestic abuse, but it feels pretty authentic. Like, the way that it's written seems like that's probably how it really goes. Obviously, there's a lot of trigger warnings for this book. The author lists them at the beginning of the book. If you are interested in reading, you should probably read the trigger warnings just in case. But it felt very authentic to me of what I think a domestically abusive relationship probably looks like. So the fact that it felt authentic and that it's unique and that it's vampires is why it has a higher rating, but it's not necessarily a super interesting book because it's super hyper focused on the relationships, and it's smutty. It's kind of smutty. It's not like super in depth with the smut, but that did kind of feel like what all of their relationships were based on was smut and like kind of insta lust, which is fine, but it's just like there was not really much else going on in the book besides some smuttiness and then like some relational problems, and then that's kind of it. It was good, like those parts were good, but it wasn't. I'm kind of a plot person. I really love a good character, but I really need a good plot, and there wasn't much of a plot. Like I said, it's very interpersonal plot. It's very character driven, and the relationships. Although one thing you could ding it on is that the characters are kind of shallow. For being vampires, there's not a whole lot going on with the characters. I don't know, I'm kind of talking down my rating, like I'm rating this higher than Babel. Maybe I need to bump my Babel rating up because Babel is definitely better than this, but this was still good. It's just a very unique book and for a very specific type of reader. Very character focused and interpersonal relationship focused. And if you like vampires, there's that too. And it's beautiful writing, very well written. Like I said, very easy to read, and I really appreciate that. So it was good. It was okay. A 4-star, I guess. It's one of those where it's like, it was good, but like, I don't know if I'm gonna remember it forever and ever, and I don't know if it would be a favorite. But I'll hold on to it for a while, and maybe I'll think back on it very fondly and change my interpretation of it. But yeah, I mean, it was fine. So we've got one day left in September, which is tomorrow, which is a Tuesday, and I work all day tomorrow. So I don't know how much I'm gonna get read of Starling House, but I am gonna do Starling House next. But, and this is again not on the official TBR, I did find The Last Tale of the Flower Bride on Libby, and I've been listening to that at work, and I'm on like chapter 9 or something. I'm not very far into it, but I just wanted to shout that out because I do have the physical copy of this, but I saw it was on Libby, so I started that as well, and it's okay. We shall see. But what I'm gonna physically read next is gonna be Starling House, which I'm very excited for, and I think it has some pretty illustrations inside. If it does, I will show you later. Okay, just checking in. It's been a while since I talked to you and a while since I have read, like 2 days. I read a little bit today. I am on chapter 11, like 88 pages in, I think. I'm really liking this so far. It's very atmospheric. I really like the setting. I feel like the author has done a great job of like creating this world where the story is taking place. And it's very mysterious. Like, I have no idea really what is going on. But the main character, Opal, has started to work in Starling House, and like we are interacting with Arthur Starling, the man of the house. And there's a lot of mystery, and I still don't know, like, I have an idea of where we're going, but I am still not 100% sure. But I just wanted to say, liking it so far. I think this has like 250 or 300 pages, so we've got quite a ways to go still, but I am liking this so far. And then I also wanted to update about The Last Tale of the Flower Bride, because I finished listening to this yesterday when I was at work. I can't remember. I've had such long days lately. But I finished this. I'm gonna give it a 3-star. I don't think I really talked about it in the last clip, but this is also like a gothic fairy tale book. But it's different to like Starling House or some of the other gothic books that I've read and really enjoyed. So this sort of has 2 POVs. The main POV that you start following is the bridegroom, and he, within like 2 chapters, is married to Indigo Castaneda. And then the second POV is a character named Azure. The bridegroom's POV is very lackluster. It feels like it was just written as a device to sort of move the plot along. He has his own initial like wants and desires at the beginning of the book, like chapter 1. He pretty quickly like disregards what he's searching for, and then at the end of the book we kind of remember that he's looking for something and kind of tie up his his storyline, but the main storyline is between Indigo and Azure, and that storyline is quite good for most of the book, but then we kind of get these interspersed chapters of the bridegroom doing the investigation as us, the audience. He is us, because he's very shy. Like, he doesn't really do much other than move the plot along. It's a very gothic fairy tale book. Another thing that I did not like about this book is that it is very purple prose, flowery language. I was listening to it on audio, like I mentioned, and that was difficult. Like the first chapter or two, I would not have been able to read this without the audio version, because it's so heavy with the purple prose, like constant over describing, and just, it's a lot. It's hard to describe, but it's a lot, and it's constant throughout the book, and it kind of drags the pace. The Azure Indigo plotline is really interesting, and I liked most of it. The twist I did not expect at the end, but it kind of, in retrospect, makes me like it less, just because it kind of didn't make a whole lot of sense about the beginning of the book. It made the beginning of the book make less sense knowing the twist at the end, which I didn't like. I don't know, it was fine. Like at certain points I was really interested in like this mystery, this like fairy tale gothic mystery, but it really was losing me with the purple prose, and the bridegroom POV was hard to be invested in. The last thing that I will mention is this book makes it very unclear if there is any magical or paranormal elements in the book. It talks a lot throughout the book about fairies and fairy tales, and it sort of tries to imply that these things are real and like magical things are happening, but it never gives you a concrete answer of like, did something fantastical happen, or is this more like a straight thriller with like psycho characters who think fairy things are happening, but they're not really. It's hard because there's no concrete answer here. I don't know if I would recommend this. Some people might like it. I didn't really like it. I liked some of it. I would not be able to read it. It's only a book I could listen to because of the prose, but there's my review for that one. Hello, it is update time. I have a lot of updates for you, and this is going to be the end portion of the video where I do some wrap-ups, but I did finish Starling House finally. It has been several days since I spoke to you. I've had a busy little while, but I did finish Starling House, and we are going to talk about that. But I did want to do some other updates real quick. So I did leave my job that I had my last day last week, and I have another job now, but my old boss gave me a Amazon gift card, so I ordered books, obviously. So I got 2 books that I'm super excited about, and I thought we would just do a little mini haul right here at the end. I got Blood Over Bright Haven by M.L. Wong. It is a super glossy cover, as you can see. People have compared this to Babel. It is a standalone fantasy, which is already a plus, and I have been wanting to read it because I want to read more books like Babel because it's very inspiring to me. I like Babel. We talked about Babel. But I hauled this one, and then I also hauled, finally, The Songbird and Heart of Stone, which before I read this, I probably want to reread the Serpent and the Wings of Night series, because this is in that world. It technically starts a new duology, but the main character in this book is an important character in the other books, and I would just like to reread those. But I did get this, and I'm super excited to read it because I've been wanting to read it forever, and it's so pretty. That's all the books that I got. Okay, and then I wanted to give some reviews on other books that I read this month that I didn't really talk about in this video, just as the monthly wrap up. So I did read Mutual Aid, Building Solidarity in This Crisis and the Next by Dean Spade. That was a library book that I checked out, so I don't have a copy. It was a nonfiction, very short book, like 150 pages, basically about the history of mutual aid, like as a thing that we do, and how you can get involved, and how you could create a mutual aid group in your area based on your needs. It was very informative. I really liked it. I give it about 4 stars, just because not all of it would apply to me, but I loved learning about the history of mutual aids. That was super, super cool, and I highly recommend reading the book for that alone. And then I also listened to Drowning by TJ Newman on Libby, and I have this copy. Loved it. I gave it 4 stars. Yeah, 4 stars. The audiobook is really good. The narrators are great. This is a thriller. It is about a father and daughter who get trapped on a plane that crashes into the ocean, and they're like trapped in this plane under the water. And it's very tense. It's very high stakes. There is like familial trauma between the father, the daughter, and the wife, who is also in the picture, who sort of has to maybe try and help get them out of the situation. It was very good, very tense, very high stakes. And very unique. That's why I gave it 4 stars. I've never read anything like it. So if you like thrillers, you will probably really like this, and I would recommend the audiobook because they did a good job on it. So that concludes the books that I read that you didn't see me reading in this video, but you did see a little bit of me reading Starling House by Alex E. Harrow, and I just finished this last night. It took me a while to read it. You already know I am a slow reader anyway, but then when I'm really busy, it just is gonna take me even longer. But I loved this book. This might be one of my very few 5-star books that I've read this year. I don't know what it's been in the reading air, but I haven't found a whole lot of 5-star reads yet this year, but this is one of them, and I'm so excited, finally. And again, I've been feeling like weird about my Babbel rating because I feel like I rated it lower than it deserves just based on how I'm rating these other books. So I'm maybe retroactively bumping my Babbel rating from a 3.75 to a 4.25. I know it matters to no one but me, but I've just been thinking about it so much. But anyway, enough about Babbel because we're talking about Starling House. So Starling House is gothic in the sense that there is a house that is a character, sort of like in the traditional gothic sense. There's usually a house that is a character and it is sort of alive in a way. So you have that in this book, and it's done very well. Sometimes that doesn't work well in books, like in The Last Tale of the Flower Bride. I don't think it was done very well. I was not convinced of the house being a character as it would be in traditional gothic literature, but in this book I was convinced, and the house felt like a character, and I loved it. So I can't remember exactly how much I told you about Starling House before, but the main characters are Opal and Arthur. They are great on their own. They're great together. They're both well-developed characters, I feel. I feel like they were believable. I really liked their relationship development throughout the book. I don't know if it's like a spoiler that they sort of have a romantic relationship, but it is very slow burn, like closed door. So good. Oh, the tension is so good and very sweet and gothic. But there's these monsters, nightmares, things. There is like the town they live in. It has this like racist history, and a lot of bad things have happened in this town, and it's like cursed. And there is like a big cast of side characters that are all really likable and have their own stories and their own lives going on, and that helps to make the book feel more real and alive and well written when you feel like the side characters have their own thing going on. So that is a really big bonus of this book, is that every side character feels real and they have their own like side stories going on, but it doesn't overtake the main story, which is hard to do, and this author does it very well. I will say there is a part towards like the middle or a little bit past the middle where the pace starts to slow a little bit. I did notice it becoming what felt to me to be a little repetitive, but it got over that hump. It was probably about a 20-30 page hump for me, but it got over it, and then we got back on track of the main story and the interesting things that were happening, and it was cool. It was unique. The twist is unique, the end is unique, the stories are unique, and there is art throughout that I showed you, and that plays a part in the story, which I wasn't expecting. I just thought maybe there's nice art throughout because the author wanted to include that, but no. It is part of the story that is revealed more towards the end. So yes, I love Starling House, 5 stars. I would highly recommend it if you're looking for a gothic story with a mystery and a large cast of side characters that you're really gonna like, and small town vibes with sort of a slow burn, little bit of a romance thrown in there. Highly recommend. So for the wrap up for September and part of October, we read Babel, which is a 4.25, is the new rating for Babel. Dowry of Blood, which was a 4-star. The Last Tale of the Flower Bride, which was a 3-star. We listened to Drowning, which was a 4-star thriller. And then Starling House, which was a 5-star. That is finally going to conclude this reading vlog. I hope you enjoyed, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you in the next video. Bye!